when Parliament decided to pass this new legislation?
Yes, we are totally opposed to the constitutional amendment number 2, principally because it's an anti-people amendment. The amendment did not carry the aspirations of the people of Zimbabwe. This amendment, if it is to be done, is supposed to be done after the constitution has been tested. In fact, you are aware that we adopted our constitution recently, and this constitution has not been tested on the specific provisions. What we see now is an attempt to amend that constitution without the people being consulted. But not only that, after Mr. Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF recalled through criminal and unlawful ways, recall the MDC Alliance MPs so that they distort the composition of parliament. In fact, you need 180 members of parliament to have a 2/3 majority. They do not have that majority without having had to pull out of parliament or recall members of the MDC Alliance and replacing them with their own created opposition outfit that did not even participate in elections.
Are you then concerned that this could be a move that sees power concentrated in the president's office?
Of course, we are extremely concerned that at a time when Africa is grappling with the COVID pandemic, we are also seeing another pandemic, which is the authoritarian pandemic, the consolidation of authoritarianism and consolidation of tyranny in Zimbabwe, breakdown of the rule of law, rule by law instead of rule of law. And these are concerns that we have because we are beginning to see an escalation in human rights abuses. We are beginning to see an escalation in assault and onslaught on the MDC Alliance leadership, a decimation of the MDC Alliance leadership. And what we are now seeing is extending of those frontiers into the constitution, mutilating the constitution, mutilating the institutions in the country, weakening them so that we have a one-part state that is consolidated.
Let's talk then about the other decision to then, no longer subject judges to public interviews, but this is a process that's now in the hands of the president and the judicial service.
Indeed, this is a reversal of the gains of a democratic, people-driven process and accountability by the people, because interviews are important. You are also engendering and promoting citizen participation. But the moment you start rolling back on those frontiers, you are only entrenching tyranny, a one-man rule and one-party state. And that is what we are beginning to see. And that is what we are opposed to, because we believe that Zimbabwe must fully return to democracy, it must fully return to legitimacy, and to be able to do that, we need to respect the citizen. And that's why this year we have called all citizens of Zimbabwe to converge for change, because what we now need is to rescue ourselves from this dictatorship and tyranny.
Are you then concerned that, judicial independence here could be, trampled upon?
Indeed, we are extremely concerned because as we speak, we have people who are incarcerated, people who have been charged on various trumped up charges. But not only that, professionals, journalists, lawyers, the trade unionists, and other civic society leaders have been subjected to a lot of harassment, arrests, and abuses. And this continues to be a very extreme case of concern.
Let's talk then about, COVID-19, as you mentioned a little earlier on. Of course, the world is battling with this particular pandemic, but we also saw, in Zimbabwe, there have been issues even around food security, as being one of the issues that continue to really be a thorn for government, as some people have been saying that their problems continue to escalate. And we even saw, here on Newsroom Africa, people crossing the border illegally in order to try and, as they say, get some food from South Africa in order to be able to take some supplies back home. What do you make of what the current situation is like on the ground? Are things escalating as, everyone is saying they are?
Please come again.
I wanted to just check in terms of the issues around food security, because this has been one of those, concerns. And as we have seen here on this channel, we've seen people illegally crossing the border into South Africa, saying that they are trying to, get some supplies in order for them to take back home to Zimbabwe. How is the situation like on the ground? Because some people are saying that the pandemic has worsened, the food security issues that Zimbabwe is facing.
Well, it's also the readiness and the preparedness of our country in terms of dealing with the COVID pandemic. We've had challenges around PPEs. We've had challenges around some mechanisms to cushion the elderly, the vulnerable groups, the workers even, because we've not had some kind of a stimulus intervention to deal with the issues. Ordinary people are still subjected to hunger. We already had problems around, drought and people who were food starved. But of course, because the harvesting is now beginning to kick in, we are seeing an improvement slightly, but still it's a dire situation with a lot of people not having access to livelihoods and a better life. And it continues to be a case of a lot of concern for us. It's a cause for concern.
And as you said, just a short while ago, that you are, getting people to try and also, act out and come out against the situation that you've described in Zimbabwe a little earlier on. Could this be in a form of protest, particularly even in the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, but also this new legislation that has now come into play? And should you decide to protest, are you then not worried about your safety? Because we've been seeing what has been happening to some of the protesters.
Well, look, individual safety is always important, but as a leader, the duty is to make sure that there is collective safety, national safety for everybody. And for us to be able to get that collective safety, we need to mobilize, organize, have citizens converging for change. This is no longer about political parties. It's no longer about political leaders or politicians. It's about citizens of Zimbabwe who have a very difficult situation, and we need to correct the situation around human rights, around issues of the humanitarian support, around issue of food starvation, around issues of constitutionalism, around issues of fighting corruption, around issues of making sure that we defend fundamental freedoms and rights of citizens. So the cause that is ahead of us is bigger than any one of us, and we have no reason to feel about personal security. We now need the collective security of all citizens and all Zimbabweans, and we are determined to brave anything that comes our way, because at the end of the day, the Constitution gives an avenue and a window to the people of Zimbabwe in terms of Section 59 to democratically, peacefully express ourselves in the context of our laws in the country. And that Zimbabweans have as an avenue to articulate legitimate discourse.
All right. Thank you so much for your time tonight. That was opposition leader.